With that, hi guys, welcome. Yay. So with that, I will let Idris take over and show you what we got.
Thank you, Karen. Hi everyone, guys. So I see there are many survivors from yesterday's night party, so that's really cool. My name is Idris Wazani, and yeah, even if my voice is a little bit broken due to yesterday's party, I'll be presenting with Karen the workshop and score big with MongoDB Atlas Search. I'm working as a solutions architect in France, and we float here because, of course, it was a football thing, so real football, you know, like what you call soccer. So, so we are World Cup champions. I think I'm not doing well with the stereotype of French arrogance, but yeah. Just before we continue, big thoughts for our friends, Italian friends, who will not be participating in the World Cup. We hope we can see them again. Yeah, Matteo is here, so. So yeah. So my name is Idris, as I said. I really like basketball, but I'm really good at FIFA. So there is my PSN. If you want to take, a photo like the one you see below, please feel free to add me, and we can have a game later on. If we speak more seriously, today we will be talking about Atlas Search, and we will go through a lot of search functionalities and features. We will see fuzzy search, autocomplete, highlighting, and many more. Basically, what you should expect from today, you will go with 4 things. You will have the knowledge, you will have the practice, you will have the skills, and you will even have some code that you can reuse later on for your own applications. So today's agenda, so why search? We will start by what is Atlas Search, how it works under the hood, and then we will have the pre-game setup. We need to tell you how you can get your cluster running, so you can follow up with the exercises. We will also see how to search data, compose queries. We will show you a demo of Atlas Search Restaurants, which is a common demo that maybe you already saw, but we will tell you how this works. And we will do a deep dive on indexes and analyzers as well, and architecture and performance, as we saw that it's important for many of you. And of course, we will have the game time parts where we will see the results of all our code. So what you will expect here is demo, and of course demo. Just before we go into what's Atlas Search and how does it work, we are going to have a preview of what our application looks like. So it's an Atlas Search search application where we will have multiple players, and in Europe, we have some crazy names, very hard to spell and very hard to find. So here we will be using wildcard, we will be using fuzzy search, and many more. Do you know some names that are complicated for football players? I don't know if, no? No? Okay, so I will come. Yes, so here. So this is basically what our you can enable your mic.
The reason we're doing this app is because I was going to do an e-commerce app. So if you saw on the schedule, there was an e-commerce app a month ago. FIFA broke up with Electronic Arts, or Electronic Arts FIFA broke up, and that's 30 years of the love is gone, and I had so much free babysitting from that I was like, well, I got to do my tribute app. But if you don't know soccer, this is the field. And by the way, you're going to have the code for this app when you're done, and you'll be able to impress your friends by building out if they like soccer. But the bottom is the goalie, so I have all these players, and I don't actually know there's the bottom, and then the next, and the next, and the next. The striker, Mbappe would be up there at the top. So if you why don't you start typing in, if you start typing in Mbappe, and then you could stop, you don't put see, the thing is you have the accent. But if you see, it's he's a French keyboard, so he had the accent, but I don't.
Sorry.
That's okay. But you see, I'm kind of showing you the code, so we can do Mbappe, and then you bring up, this is 20,000 players and you get results just like that. But you could also misspell it. We have, you could show them the different operators there. So does anyone have like a super one they want to stump somebody with? Who? Messi?
Come
Well,
on.
well, we could do Messi. So,
I can say.
but we don't need to use wildcard. Let's use basic text, but we can okay.
Can misspell it, so
Wildcard, we'll do, okay, so we do Mossy, and if we do text, you see that we can misspell his name, and we could still find him. If you do wildcard, then you can, let's do Schnee, or whatever his name is.
Huh?
Schnee, yeah, so
Szczesny.
there's like this, is he still playing? He's like a Polish goalie, right?
Yes.
So the other thing
think
is,
it's
so we're doing
Szczesny.
wild card, but why don't you open up,
I think, yeah.
do you see him? You could open up that, and he's from Poland, right?
Yep.
So
Poland
I don't know if
is here.
Poland's in there.
Is here, yeah.
Yeah. So see if that,
So if I go,
you have to hit
Yes.
you could hit the magnifying
I can
glass.
hit it, yeah. Okay, now we have Szczesny.
Yeah, and then you could, and then if you click on him by hitting the green heart at the bottom,
Yep.
then you could put him in your,
Sorry, yeah, I put
then you
him as
can add
a
him.
goal. Yeah, he's a goalkeeper.
He's a good goalie, but you could try him as striker. But anyway, so we're going to build out some of these first basic queries. As you can see, that was that little bit of code that popped up here on the right. That's basically your first stage. And we'll talk about that later. But if you hit the magnifying glass there again on the left, the left, yeah. Then you could see, I wish I could make these bigger, but everybody wants their team in. So these are all the countries, all the clubs, all the positions, and you could start querying across these different text fields. You could query across numbers, you can query across dates in this, and again, it goes through over 20,000 players, and you get things going quite easily. Does anyone here a terrible speller and does not know anything about soccer? Can you come up and try? You want to try now that you kind of know how it works? What's your name?
Steve.
Steve. Where are you from?
Detroit.
Oh, cool. So come, you want to try it on the keyboard? So who are we going to give him?
We can start, easily. Lewandowski.
Devanovsky.
Yes. Lewandowski.
Levanovsky.
Yes.
Okay.
You can press enter. Yeah.
But we won't use wildcard on this. We'll use text.
Yeah, because
so let's
actually
change
the
the operator
multiple-
to text,
yeah.
and that way maybe. So
No, he
hit
did
enter?
multiple.
So maybe he's at the.
Yeah, in Atlas Search you can define how many errors you can handle in one word. The more you add this, the crazier it can become for small words. So here we took 2 misspelling in one word. So yeah. No, sorry, it's a French key.
French keyboard.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's.
Yeah. Actually, we did not think about it. And it's actually, yeah.
Yeah, actually, if you have no idea how to spell it, maybe the wildcard is a better thing, because the star
W,
just gets
not-
like 7 different characters.
It's W. It's Lew. Yeah.
It's W, right? Yeah, that wouldn't
W.
work.
Yeah, sorry.
No
And
wonder I'm
then
typing so horrible. All the letters are not in the right
Yeah.
spot.
and we know is he German?
No, he's the first one there. So it's
Okay.
Lewandowski.
And so if you click on one of the boxes below on the Dream Team field,
Yeah.
if you click on one of the unknown ones,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, actually, if you click on the green heart now, he's going to play goalie.
No, it's not.
Okay, but now you have to hit the green heart in the player box
Yeah, if you go
for
up, green. Yeah.
any of those guys. So he should, and that's
So
how it
now
works.
you have Lewandowski as a terrible goalkeeper. He's one of the best strikers ever. So that's,
Well, he could be a good goalkeeper. So yeah.
actually, I had crazier names, so I don't think we should.
No, keyboard's hard enough.
Yeah,
I
the
think-
keyboard's hard enough. We'll do it later on my own. But anyway,
Okay,
so
thank you
that's
so
the
much.
gist of.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve.
Cool. Okay, so we can go to why Atlas Search and what is Atlas Search. So basically, if you want to do a search, you have a search use case. sometimes like you have a database and it's used for transactional identified common queries. You have access patterns, you model your document in order to get this like access patterns handled. And search engines are quite different because you don't know actually what's coming in the application. So you don't know what are the queries in Google, for example, which is the most common, I would say, search use case. You like every day you have new like queries that never happened before. So actually, what you should expect in a database is usually some buttons in your applications, while in a search engine, it's usually a search bar, and like the users are invited to write whatever they want. So for the database, we have multiple things. We have aggregations. We have like different types of index, CTL, and ACID transactions, and other things. While in search engine, you have fuzzy search, which is this typo tolerance thing, highlighting, facets, synonyms, and much more. So how like the developers do it today? Actually, historically, that was pretty painful because you had to get this database system, MongoDB, for example, and you have to optimize it for the access pattern you have. And then you have the search engine, which is another technology. For example, I gave some examples here: Elasticsearch, Solr, and OpenSearch, which is the fork of Elasticsearch. And actually, they are all based on Lucene, and we will see why this is important, because we actually Atlas Search also use Lucene. And usually you have an ETL, you have a CDC between the two systems that you have to maintain. So you have normally 3 technologies, different query languages, different data models, data duplications, no real time, of course, and no strong consistency. So it's kind of painful to handle all of this. So for innovation, it's slowing a lot, and you have to maintain, patch, and upgrade every once of the system. So what we built? We took Lucene engine that was used by this like famous search platform, like systems, and we embedded it into the MongoDB like node, and we had 2 processes, one that we will call MongoD as the MongoDB process, and MongoT, which is the Mongo like text, which is standing for full text search, which is based on Lucene. So we have like one single URL, one single API, and actually we will have to either, based on the operator we are using, either use search capabilities or MongoDB traditional capabilities. And as you can see, one technology, one query language, one infrastructure, no data duplication, and of course, cost reduction and the complexity. So you can do today with MongoDB Atlas Search something like this. You can have both in the same cluster, both database capabilities and search capabilities. I like this slide because it gives like an overview of the architecture. So the whole like box here is one MongoDB node in Atlas. Okay, one Atlas node. You have the MongoD process, which is the MongoDB database, and then we are there. No, like these 2 people. So the first thing we do, we have to create an index. So we can do it through Atlas UI, API, Terraform, whatever you want. And once you do that, we will provision Java Web process or the Lucene engine inside of the Atlas node. The first thing will happen, we will have an initial sync actually to the Lucene engine, and we will only store the search indexes and the object ID. So there is no duplication of the whole document. So that's like really interesting. And what happens if we use a $match or a find in MongoDB? We are talking to MongoD and not to Lucene. So basically, we are not going to speak at Lucene. We will ignore it if it's not existent. So for the performance, it's not adding like overhead. And then we are matching the query results. Now, if we take like the same example, and now I am using a $search in my aggregation. If I do this, we know that MongoD knows that it's not for it, it's for the Lucene. And Lucene will send the object ID lists plus the search metadata. For example, if you have highlights, scores, all kind of search metadata will be like sent back to MongoD, and then we will have a list of documents like sent. It's like a lookup with all the documents. So this is how it works, like technically speaking, and this is why like it's pretty interesting. So as you can see, like the initial sync and change streams, this is how we like maintain the index, the Lucene indexes. So if there's something happening in the MongoD process, MongoDB, we are always like updating the inverted index of Lucene. So this is the Atlas Search, I would say, theory. So this is the slides part. Now we will go into more practice side with the preset of the environments. And I will let Charles present you this part.
Thank you. So we're going to start off with pre-configuration for the application, the whole workshop, so the hands-on part. I've seen most of you use Atlas already. So just to confirm, which of you guys don't have an Atlas account? All right. Do you guys have a Google account? All right, perfect. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go, do you guys all have the Wi-Fi setup, actually?
So,
Yeah, all right. Perfect.
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so what you can do is go to atlassearchworkshop.com, and you're gonna have that web page in front of you, all right? So atlassearchworkshop.com. All right, once you guys are all done, you guys are on that web page. Are you guys all on that web page? Yeah? All right, perfect. And you can click on the Google Doc Atlas Search tutorial, and we're gonna go through that document. Yeah, that document to configure the Atlas environment. Keeping in mind that if you already have an Atlas account with an M0, with the sample data set, you can actually ignore that, all right? So if you've got an M0 with the sample data set loaded, you can ignore those steps, okay? All right. Does everyone have access to the doc? Yeah, all right, perfect. So yeah, there is a quick overview of what we're gonna do, but you've seen it already with the app, with the whole explanation, the theory. So yeah, we're gonna give you an example with the app of how to create an index and then use it and create the queries accordingly for the use case you wanna do. So the part one is the setup, and then we're gonna do the hands-on part, all right? So we're gonna start off with the cluster and the Atlas login. So for that part, I'm gonna use one of the new features, which is the Atlas CLI. So any of you guys have the Atlas CLI already installed? No? All right, perfect. How many of you guys have an M0? None of you? And a cluster, a free-tier cluster on Atlas. All right, some of you. All right, perfect. All right, you guys all are all on Mac, right? I've seen only Macs for now, yeah? All right, perfect. No, not Mac. Come on, I'm joking. All right, let's see. For you, French keyboard. All right, so you can just, oh yeah, Alex, yeah. All right, so you can just Google Atlas CLI, and you can just click on the first one. And so yeah, because I'm on Mac, it's telling me for Mac, but you can follow those steps for Windows. And if you run into any issue, you can ask help from Idris or Karen. Feel free, or just ask, and I'll help you. All right. So for the Mac users, so most of you guys, you can just do brew install. And the MongoDB Atlas. Yep. Are you guys? Yeah, I see you're working on it. Perfect. I see some of you are already done for some. Yep. If there is any issue, just ask. Feel free to ask. We've got 4 hours. We have time to debug and stuff like that. No worries. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Idris. Yeah. Thanks. Okay. All right. Let me check. Wait, it's fine. Yeah. Yeah. For the others, to be honest, like if you don't want to go through the CLI, it's fine. What you can do is just go to cloud.mongodb.com, all right, directly on the Atlas UI, all right, and then. And then just go through your cluster, all right? So what you would have on the Atlas UI is just an organization. You can create an organization and then create a new project and create an M0, all right? So we can name the project Workshop or MongoDB World. All right. And then create project, and at that point we are gonna be on the classic page where you can build the database, all right? Build a cluster.
You already have an Atlas cluster, you don't have to do this.
Yeah.
It saves a lot of time, but if you do have one, you can download the sample data set, because that's ultimately our end spot on this. If you don't know where the sample data set is, let me know. I'll show you. There's a button with 3 dots and it says load sample data.
Keep in mind that the document will let you go through all of those instructions. So the sign up instruction for the 2 guys that don't have an Atlas account. To be honest, you can sign up with Google, so it should be fairly simple. Just go to cloud.mongodb.com and then sign up with your Google account. Okay, for the 2 guys that don't have an account. Mm-hmm. For the others, you can just log in on your account and either create an M0 if you don't have one and load the sample data set. So as I can do it here. So you should have that web page once you created your account, and you create a shared one, a free tier. And we can use US East and an M0. So you can leave everything by default after clicking on a shared tier. All right. If you have any question, any issue, don't hesitate to ask. We're here to help. So the goal state is an M0 running with the sample data set. Yeah? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Shared and an M0, and you can just leave everything by default, and you can click on Create Cluster. Yeah, you already have an M0, that's fine, so you can cancel and use that one. Yeah, you can use the M0. So just click on cancel. Maybe refresh the page. Oh yeah, go on the clusters. Yeah, that's fine. It's an M0. You can just resume. Yeah, go ahead. You should have the separate access, so you can use that one. Okay. As long as let's see the network access.
Do you need that?
Yeah, that's fine. Perfect. All right. So M0 and sample data set. Are you guys all in that state? Everyone has an M0 with the sample data set. Okay. Let me show you and I come to you. All right. So once you created the M0, yeah. The M0, at that point, there are the 3 dots and then load sample data set. So 3 dots, load sample data set. Yeah. Sorry? We're gonna go through it later, yeah. But once you've got the sample data set, you're fine. Someone had an issue there, right? Is it solved or not? All right, no? Oh, yeah, sorry. Sorry.
In the cloud.mongodb.com logged in to our Atlas accounts, but is this still effective?
Yeah, so back. And back. Right.
We're interns, so we might have a different version or something.
Yeah, but you should be able to have an organization. You should be able to create a new org.
Yeah, I haven't been able to find how to do that.
Because normally, like right now, you're on the admin panel,
Right.
and you should be able to just. Alright. Oh, it gives you only the admin panel, right?
Yeah.
Can you create a new one? That's not. Yeah, you should be able to exit. If you've got a Google account, just log in with your. No worries. Yeah. I don't know why you should be able to exit that, but yeah. All right, everyone done? Yeah. An M0 loaded sample data set. Is the loading finished for everyone or not yet? Yeah, it's fine. There's a lot of data. I'm joking. Yeah, but it takes a little bit. Yeah. Everyone is waiting for the sample data set to load, right? Any. So the 3 dots and load sample data set. Okay, so look. Yeah, we're gonna use movies, but then we're gonna import data. But the important part is to have the sample data set in, right? So 3 dots, load sample data set. Okay? All right, most of you are done, right? All right. All right. So yeah, for the sake of this demo, I'll show you what you just did via the CLI. So once you've got the CLI, all right, we can see it's installed. So what you can do is just do Atlas setup, and then it will give me it will bring me to create an account or login, all right? And then it will allow me to link the command line. So here you go, to verify the account, and to link it to the, right. Just because, yeah. All right, so yeah, it allows me to link my account with the terminal, the Atlas CLI. At that point, the setup will sync up, and it will create a cluster with the loaded sample dataset and the password, a user, and the access list to your current IP. All by itself, automatically. So you just need to do Atlas setup, and then you've got a free tier cluster linked to using your Atlas account and available with the loaded sample dataset. Okay, so that's the whole point and value of the Atlas CLI, is that all those steps that you did manually, so clicking on creating an account, clicking on the free tier, and then waiting for the cluster and loading the sample dataset once the cluster is available, is done automatically and just via one command line, which is Atlas setup. Okay? All right. So everyone has the sample dataset, right? No? Okay, perfect. Thank God we've got 4 hours, right? Yeah. Right. So for the ones waiting for the sample dataset, what we're going to do, because we're going to use the graphical interface to interact with your cluster. Okay. So what we're going to do is download Compass. So as always, MongoDB Compass. Up. Here we go. And then you've got the download now directly. It should bring you directly to the download center on the right page, and then you just have to click on download. All right, so MongoDB Compass, and then there is a link, the download now link, and you can download Compass. All right, once you've got that, you just have, it's a DMG, so for Mac users or for Windows users, it should be an exe or an install, and then you've got the binary. And once you've got that, what it will look like is that. So for everyone, MongoDB Compass, and then the download now link, and it should bring you to the download center. If you want, you can use that link. So mongodb.com/try/download/compass, and it will bring you to that web page, and just download the binary. All right. All right. For the ones that just created the M0, we're going to go through the security and the quick start. So you should have a quick start that brings you to that page. which will make you create a DB user and then whitelist the IP, all right? Because if you remember correctly, Atlas is secure by default, so every cluster is deployed in its own VPC, and it's not available, accessible via the internet at its creation, okay? So the username, we can do any, right? There is no, yeah. So what we usually do is just app user, and then the password you can use MongoDB 1234. Oh yeah, French keyboard. 2, 3, 4. Here we go. So app user MongoDB 1234 or Mongo 1234, doesn't matter as long as you know it. And then you create the user, all right? So here it will appear, and then we're gonna add the current IP, and it should add the current IP at the access list, and then you can finish and close. If you run into any issue, don't hesitate, we are here. All right, everyone created a username, access list, yeah. Let's see, in database access, yeah. All right, so you've got already, yeah, right. Yeah, create a new one if you can. So, yeah, so the username and then, yeah, username password. That's fine, and then you can, sorry, you can go down, 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 and then add user. Yeah, keep in mind that you might want to delete it after that. Yeah, and then the network. Yeah, exactly, and then network access. You'll have to add an IP address and the current one. Yeah, but yeah, you might want to. It's fine. Yeah, you can do a temporary one. So if you enable that, yeah, and just do it 6 hours fine. And the users, you can do the same with the user. So you can confirm, and then database access. Yeah, you can edit the one you just created. There you go, edit, and then go down, 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 and there is. Sure. You might want to recreate one. Maybe you just delete it and recreate a temporary one if you want. Yep.
When I just connect to the CLI,
Yeah.
how to make sure that it's connected to the cluster.
Yeah. So if you go through the Atlas setup, so Atlas, no, through the CLI. Yeah. So if you do yes, you just logged in, right? So if you say yes, it should give you an error because you already have a free tier. Yeah, exactly. See, so that's fine, But it's already connected to the default organization, and you can change it. So for that, you can do Atlas auth, and then set, Atlas auth, AUTH. And then help, like /h. Yeah, just one /h, and you'll have all the. What's the? I don't remember the profile. I think it's Atlas profile.
You don't
and then-
need to have
but
Compass for
in
this,
the
but it's
parameters.
such a helpful
you
tool. I
can
almost
look at
can't live without it because we're going to start writing aggregations. We'll talk about aggregations. They're a really powerful tool, and that'll help you kind of save your aggregations and your work for later. But anything, if you can't get it, everything you do, you can do inside the Atlas interface as well.
Are you guys all done? So you've got Compass, you've got an M0, you've got the sample data set. And for those that won't see it, you've got the CLI. Yes? All right, perfect. So for Compass, to connect to that cluster we just created, you just have to go, so wherever you are, you've got the 3 buttons. So you can click on Atlas to come back to that page, okay? So you can browse around, and if you're lost, you just click on Atlas, and you'll be back on the cluster page, okay? Then you click on Connect, and then Compass, just because we got Compass, and you'll see you've got a connection string that you can copy, okay? You copy that connection string, and then into Compass, you can paste it and change the password. Here we go, 1, 2, 3, 4, and click on Connect, all right? So you just have to set the password to the password you just created or you have in your cluster, all right? And then you can just click on Connect. And you can see we've got access to, all right, yeah, I don't have the sample data set. Anyway, you can browse the collections. So this one doesn't have the sample data set. I'm gonna load them. And once they're loaded, it will populate that one, all right? So you guys should have a bunch of collections. One of those is called Sample Mflix. And you have like movies, a collection movies in it with a bunch of movies. Yeah? All right, perfect. Everyone connected fine through Compass? Everyone installed Compass without any issue? Everyone went through, yeah, all right. Did you network access?
So I've opened anything. Yeah, I've done this in the past. So all my developer team could access it from anywhere.
Okay.
And then database access
Yeah.
is right away. We could go to user.
Yeah. And what's the error?
Yeah,
Oh,
so I've got
close.
Ubuntu, no password.
It might be because you're going through a VPC or something like that.
I don't think so. It should just be straight up connecting. I know, and I use this all the time. I was like, wait, what? I was in charge of this on the team. Yeah, it just times out.
Yeah, it might be the IP whitelist because I saw you only opened the /24 instead of
over here?
everything. Yeah.
Oh, this IP address. I thought that was everything.
No, so access from anywhere it should populate it. Yeah,
with the
/0.
zero.
Yeah, it's the
Okay.
and you should it should once it's done it should be fine. No worries. All right, everyone done? In the meanwhile, any question? Yeah? All right, perfect. Any questions on anything? All right. Pretty nice. All right, so most of you know MongoDB, right? You guys know about the aggregation framework, right? Correct? Yes? Who doesn't know about the aggregation framework? All right. All right. Just for the sake of it, I'm going to do a quick refresher once I've got the comments, fine. All right, I've got a few documents already. So in Compass, once you're connected to your cluster, you should have a bunch of databases on your left. And then once you select the database, you've got a list of collections, right? Yes? Perfect. And then you've got the aggregation tab. So everyone should be familiar with that tab, right? Obviously. All right, perfect. So everyone knows about the stages, right?
You know, the thing is like, so I was an SA here for years, and I would just avoided aggregation because it's a really long word and it intimidated me. But now that I use, so I started, you know, I had the aggregations I always used, match and sort and limit, whatever. But now that aggregation is your friend. So let's go ahead and introduce it. But and if you could zoom in a little bit more, that would be super helpful. Because I used it this morning. I use it to change my data types. I use it to string things. I use it to clean my data. I started using it for search, but we're going to find as we go forward that like the nice thing about search, and the nice thing about lots of our new use cases is that we're unlocking all of that through aggregation. So we're talking about aggregation here because this is how we're going to be using search. But this is also if you have a use case for time series. This is another really good reason to become comfortable with aggregation. So Asya, who did she was the MC for the thing, and she's a bit of a, I love her, she's my friend, she knows I call her this. She's a bit of a smarty pants, but she calls aggregation the new find, and I always thought that was ridiculous because find is the new find, but it is really a good thing. So let's just do a super simple aggregation. So
yeah, so we can do a match. Do you guys know what match does? Matching, yeah.
It's basically a filter.
Very well. Smart answer, yes. It will match the documents to the condition we're gonna input in the query. So what's great about Compass, as Karen mentioned, is that you can select the stage from there. You can look it up from just typing it. So you can find it very easily, very quickly, and then once you select it, it will pre-populate the template with comments. So for instance, if I change it with just replace with or replace root, which are super complex stages, it will give you a comment. Actually, yeah, it's interesting because there isn't much, but yeah, it will give you a comment and the template to build it out correctly, okay? So what we're gonna do is a match, as we said, and I selected a random collection just because it's still loading for me, but it's just to give you an overview of the aggregation and the power it gives you and the ability it gives you. So for instance, I can say name, because I want to filter by the name field. So as you can see in the sample I've got here, that my documents have the field name, and then there is John Bishop. So I might as well look for it. So here we go, and then we've got a sample of results. So we see it's sample of 10 documents, and all of them have the field name, which is equal to John Bishop, right? So you can see already that Compass is great for building aggregation, especially when you want to keep track of the result, to keep track of the what the engine is doing, and give you an idea of what the stage does exactly. And it gives you the ability to change the order, and disable it and enable it, and that is how you optimize your queries, because most of the time what you want is filter most of the documents out, right, before doing anything else, right? And that's just math. You want to do your aggregations on the smallest data set, especially if you know you wanna filter those out, right? So usually one of the rules are to match first, and then the engine can do a little bit of optimization, like if we've got more than one match, one after the other, it might be just combined into one match, okay? All right? So we can add another stage, such as just group. And you can see what I was telling you about the template and the comments. So if I do a group, it will give me the comments, what each field is required and what it does. So the ID will be count, and then right. So the ID of the group will be count.
That was one dead.
And then the accumulator is a sum.
Hard one. I just match and sort by whatever.
Yeah, I actually, it's the keyword that gives me. All right, here we go. So this is the $sign, it's $sign. There we go.
Did you
And
get
at
it?
that point, that should be, what did I do?
Who doesn't have Compass now? Does everyone have Compass? You don't? Do you need help?
Here we go.
Okay. Okay.
Oh,
Oh, okay. It's like my favorite thing. And then at the bottom, we don't have to finish the aggregation, but you could also show them the shell, maybe pop up the shell
Yeah.
at the bottom.
yeah. So just to go over the group very quickly, and then I'll go through the Mongo shell. So here what we did was we said we're gonna group all those documents by the name.
Hey.
So I could have selected any other field, to be honest. But yeah, so by doing that, we've got the names and then the count by the value of the names, right? And as we can see, because there is a match before on name John Bishop, as we expect, the result of that group stage will be just John Bishop and then the count of the documents that have that value, okay? All right. And if I disable the match, at that point, we see that we've got all the values of the name field and with their counts, okay? All right? Any questions, comments? No? All right, perfect. And to end up, yeah, so Compass gives you the ability to just have Mongo SH, so a Mongo shell, directly accessible. You can just click on Mongo SH, and it will give you access to the terminal, all right? So It's connected already to the database, as you can see, and you can just do what you would do on the shell. So as you can see, show databases, it shows all the databases. Here it's not refresh, but if I hit refresh, I'll see the same ones, and then I can do use any, so sample Mflix, and then show color, I believe, collections. Here we go. So I can see I've got collections, I've got the databases, which is pretty much what is shown on the left side of Compass. All right? Yes? Oh, yeah. Sure.
You have that atlassearchworkshop.com, all the links in it with screenshots are in that document. So if we go on today and you don't want to code or whatever, if you want to just try it later, you can. But he's pretty zoomed in, it's just fuzzy because of the light or something, I don't know. So, Charles, qu'est-ce que tu fais maintenant?
I'm just showing the doc. Yeah, anyway. Yeah. At that point.
And okay, so actually we have Compass, we have Atlas.
Yeah.
Do y'all want to just start live coding, or you want to take a break? We set everything up. Usually setup takes a little bit less time, but should we just get into the app? Okay, cool. Thanks.
Right.
Okay.
So I leave it to
Tu
you.
peux le faire, merci.
Yeah.
Ok. Tu peux prendre. Merci. Thank you, Charles.
No worries.
Okay. C'est à toi. Ok, merci. C'est à toi, non? Ok. Okay, so as I mentioned, if we were to use, so now we have the data and we have Atlas. Let me make this a little bit bigger. And actually, let me go to the slide. Let's go back to the slides so we can kind of get an idea of where we are. Sorry, don't know why that's here. Oh, that's why, slideshow. Okay, so we did, oh, you know what I missed? Okay, so we set everything up, because usually it's quite quick, but now we're gonna, so for the rest of the time, we're gonna start searching data. Now we're gonna start building out some queries. We're going to talk about indexed analyzers, as Idris mentioned, and then we'll get into architecture and performance. We already have some great questions about indexes. And by the way, if I'm walking around, or any of us are walking around, and you've already done what we're looking at, and you have other questions, happy to answer those as well. And we could also get other people in here, other essays in here if you want. So the first thing that we want to show is, actually let me exit here. So if we go back to, so as we go, again, everything you need for this workshop is here on this page. There are live links to everything. So this application that we have here, you could open it up and we can look for, any movie with Indiana Jones and see what happens. And then we could look for, change it by dates. We could sort of, let's see, so this one is, so you can see right away we get the score and the year and the rating. So we get all this different type of data with it. So not only text, but we get numbers and we get dates. And then as you can see here, we have highlights. So you can see why some of this data showed up in this query when it did. If we go to, so right now, like that's 8.3, that's 7.6. So we're going to be able to sort of filter across this. Let's go ahead, hopefully after I do this, Indiana Jones will go away. And so you could see how these things are interacting. So back at the workshop. So now that we have our data and we have Compass, we are connected to our data in Compass. I want to show, sorry, I've lost my place here. Here we go. So I mentioned that aggregation is really very powerful. It's not just for search, but for everything, for cleaning your data, for time series. You use it, you're gonna find that you use it all the time. And the reason I really like Compass is because you can save it there and you can move it around. It's really, really helpful. So search in Atlas, a lot of you are new to search, and a lot of you are new to Atlas, but it's really, really easy, even though it took a little bit of time to set up. We have our Atlas cluster. All you need to do search, to start querying for all those soccer players and stuff, is you have your Atlas cluster, you have your data, you need to create a search index, and we'll talk about search indexes, why they're different than your typical MongoDB index, how they're gonna affect performance, and how you can pick the right index so that you'll get the results that you want. And then once we have the data, the cluster, the data, the index, then we query for search, and the only thing we need is the aggregation, and the aggregation stage is $search. These first 3 steps you do right inside the Atlas interface, and we've already done the first 2. So now we're just going to create the search index. Let me escape here and go back. Your database should look like, I was working on the Keynote demo, so I've got a lot of planned data. Sorry. So your data set should look like sample Mflix. You have a lot of things. I have restaurants. I have some applications for that. And we'll go to movies. So in this collection, we have 23,000 movie documents in it. You could see all the different data types. We have objects, we have dates, we have numbers, we have strings, and you can query all of that with the same Atlas search index. So query across all those fields right away. So the first thing we do is we create an Atlas search index, and again, it's different than the normal, how you create a normal Atlas index. And I'm just gonna go here inside the Atlas interface and they have a nice sort of curated, guided experience with this. Or if you have the JSON body, you can put that in there as well. So in the visual editor, I'll just keep all the default settings. I'll click through, movies, next. Now, this is really interesting, and we're going to come back to this in a little bit. My default settings say, I'm sorry, my shoelace is untied. They say the Lucene standard, we're using, the analyzer that we're using is Lucene standard, and you could change this if you want. We offer lots of different types of indexes, and I'll talk about that later. Dynamic mapping is on. So dynamic mapping, by default, you could turn it on or you could turn it off, but dynamic mapping is really interesting because as your data changes, you create your index, you could search across your collection. But as your data changes, as you insert new documents, or as you change the shape of your documents, nest some documents inside other documents, Atlas Search will listen for that with these change streams. And they will listen for those changes, and they'll index those fields automatically. So these are the things that you do with these full settings. And if you want to, we can refine the index. If you want to only do certain fields, or if you want to use a different analyzer, you would do that here, but we're not gonna do that. We're just gonna do, did I add a field here? Dynamic mapping, okay, let's just save. Stored, the new stored. Store full document. Make all data available for, I think this is something that's new, and I'm not terribly well versed in it, so.
Yeah, it's gonna be for next functionalities, but yeah, so don't mind it.
You're like the voice
now.
of God right now. So, okay, so with all the default settings, we're in the sample Mflix movies collection. Let's go ahead and create our index. So this is gonna take, normally it takes no time for this to happen. So as we create the index, as I said, we're going to go back to Atlas Search. So as this index gets created, Now, with that, just those few clicks of the button, we'll be able to query across all these fields. Text, numerics, dates, objects, arrays, they're all indexed automatically. And then you saw how we could refine the index if you needed to do something with GeoJSON data or something like that. You just have to tell, the index has to know what it's expecting on the data, so you just have to tell it what's expecting. So it's basically a couple clicks, or you could write it in the body of the thing. So now that we have the data and we have search, we'll go ahead and do our first query on it. So here, we should be connected to the right thing. So if I do, so right now I should not have input in. So if you have the application open, and I think just in case it wasn't clear, we can do the application here. I have the application, and you can actually just open it here in your sandbox. If you click open the sandbox, and once you start typing in it, it's yours. So you don't have to worry about like affecting anything. And so this code is yours to keep. So as we go through, and we're going to start, as we start live coding, there's going to be, I say a live code, but I don't really live code. I kind of live copy and paste. So because I'm terrible at live coding. But you can see here in the snippets folder that we're going to kind of grab these little snippets, and we're going to be copying and pasting these into our functions as we go. So, and they're numbered, so we'll kind of go in the right order. So we were here, we're in the right collection. We should be able to search now for, so if you grab the first snippet, it should say, sorry that this is hard to see. So if we search for like Harry Potter, for instance, if we search for Harry Potter here, you can see that I have all of these documents. It goes real quickly through all those 23,000 movie documents, and it brings these back for me. So, but if I do with that search index, so I do $search here in the pull down stage, and it kind of fills it up for me, and then this is the body, this is snippet 1. Now if I misspell it a little bit, I'll get no results. But Atlas Search does something where it allows us to forgive us for our typos and not be perfect all the time. So we can do fuzzy, adding the fuzzy field here, max edits. We can do 2. And so now, just like that, we can get that's all we need to do to forgive our users for their bad spelling. So max edits 2, just to give you an idea, that's kind of the default one. So if you just do fuzzy with an empty body, you're going to get max edits. You're going to get max edits 2. And it just means that it's giving you a little more freedom on how badly you can misspell things. I don't actually know specifically how to explain that. But, and then max edits 1 means you get less freedom. You're not going to get as many matches, but you're going to get better matches. So depending on your use case, how closely you want to get, then this would be that. I would say if I'm just doing the title, I'm probably just going to say max edits 1. So because I don't want to get, I want to make sure I get good results. So we have text max edits 1. Now the other thing I want to show is, let's do, let me go back. So on the snippets 2, I'm going to take this out. And I'm going to go, my second stage is going to be project. As I start typing in Compass, it just kind of fills it out for me. And I get these results. Project means, so project means if you see in this document, I have a lot of fields. Just like you probably don't want to index all those fields, you don't need all those fields for your application. For my simple movie application, I just want, you know, the description and maybe the image and the year. So I'm going to project out those fields. I'm going to say the name, 1. If I want to take out a field like the object ID, I can put underscore object ID : 0, and it will remove that field. The one thing I want to also point out here is I can do, let me see where this is. So there is something I can put in here that says score this score. So this search meta operator, and let me make this a little bit bigger. The last step in here is, sorry if it's too small. The last step in here, the score thing, it's looking for the meta search score. So we use the meta operator inside Project to surface data that Atlas finds for you, Atlas Search finds for you, but it's not part of the original document. That's why we use meta inside of Project for the metadata. And so you see here, now on every document, we have this score field that shows up, because Atlas Search is going to score every single one of these 20,000 documents based on relevance. So I know a lot of you are using search already. You guys are already familiar with relevance. But, and it's quite a complicated algorithm, how they calculate relevance, but it's the same one that Lucene uses, so you're gonna get similar scores to how you do it inside Lucene. And as we go through today, we're gonna get different results, and we're gonna show you how we can sort of use score to sort of change the results that we get and the things that your users see first. So for instance, in this particular one, in the first document, it's 3, 7. And so Atlas Search is going to return all of these documents to you with the score in descending order. So that means because this score is based on relevance, that means you're going to get the most relevant matches first, the best matches first. So if you get all those matches first, then you probably don't need to continue to project across all those things. So we're going to add our final stage for our first basic search query is limit. And let's just go ahead and limit to 12. And so now you see that these are the best, let me see if I get these. So these are the best movies, best top 12 movies that match for Harry Potter when it's spelled like this. So one of the reasons I like Compass, does anyone have any questions about this? Yes, sir.
So is there any other metadata that's useful apart from score?
Yeah, actually that's a great question, and I'm glad you said it because I always forget to put it in here. So I want to do highlighting. So as you saw in the app, when we did Harry Potter, you could see in the player card inside the thing that the Harry Potter was highlighted. So you could see why, you could find your results in the right context. So if you wanted highlights, the only thing you have to do is add, and I always forget, here we go. So I'm going to add to my search stage, I'm going to add highlight, I say I want the highlights, give me the highlights in the full plot field. But I could put any field there I want, or I can put a combination of fields. Actually, that's another good point, is that if I wanted to search across different fields, right now I'm only searching across title, but I could also search across full plot, and let's do plot as well. And so now you can see Harry Potter across title, full plot, and it's allowing for misspelling, and it's allowing highlighting. So the highlight that I would add here would be, and it's in the snippets, it should be. So I'm going to add highlights. To surface that here, I would add, just like I added the meta score, I'm going to add highlights, search highlights. So let me show you real quick what that looks like. It's a little, what your front-end developer is going to be expecting. So these highlights will show an array of text documents. And inside each text documents, they open up to be, so the first one that you can see better on my screen than maybe you see it on yours is, the first one is Harry, and it's a hit. So the next one is probably going to be, I want to say miss, but it's text. The next one's going to be text. So when you create, so it's really easy to sort of highlight this inside your code, because you can say if it's a hit, highlight it, and if it's not a hit, then you don't have to add any sort of special styling for that. So with these 3 stages, this is all you need for your basic search. But there is one really cool optimization tip that I want to point out. Limit is really important because speed is really important in search. So we know that we're getting the highest scores first and the best matches first. And because we know we're getting the highest scores first and the best matches first, we can just go ahead and limit them first and then do project after. And shoot, am I going the wrong way here? Yeah, so it's funny, I made this bigger and now I can't do anything in it. Let's see, sorry.
While Karen does that, I would like to tell you guys that the lunches are available in the right beside us. So if you want to grab one, we're gonna have a quick break after this one.
Yeah.
So you can just grab lunch after that, right?
So we'll just go ahead and build our first endpoint, and then they'll be done. Because at this point, now we have this. So the reason why we're doing limit first is because you're new to Atlas, so if you're new to MongoDB, this is important. You have all these documents. You have 23,000 documents. If you know that you're getting the best matches first, don't pull all of them in to your working set and project on all of them. Just pull the top 12 in and project on those, and then you don't have to project on the other ones. So these little tweaks will help a lot, so save you some space. So limit, and then now if you want to save, you can save your pipeline here, so you can use it later, play with it later. I always do this because I can't remember the code I have. And then you can export the language. The other thing that Compass has is really nice, that you could export the language. So you can do all of these things, Java, Node, Python. So we're going to do Node. Do you guys want to, should we finish the endpoint, are you guys good? Okay, let's just finish the first endpoint, and then we'll have something to digest while we're eating. I've copied that inside of our first thing. So the first thing we're going to do now is, if you're in the document, we're going to go back to, so this is where I created my index. We have this nice thing inside of Atlas called app services. We have all these, Atlas isn't just restoring your data. We have charts and we have ways to visualize, and that all comes for free. So what I want to do here is I want to open up app services. So I'm going to we need to create an API now that we have this state, now that we have this aggregation. And there are lots of ways to create an API. So there are lots of ways to create an API. I'm just doing this because it's here, and it's really easy for me, and it's hosted, and I don't have to worry about standing up any servers or anything like that. So I've opened up app services. I'm going to create an application. So I'll just create a whole new, I have an application, but I'll just create a new one. We'll call this application Movies. You could call it Netflix clone, whatever you want. I don't know if you can see this. So we're going to create the application. And just like that, that's all it takes. And now I have this nifty little movie app ID. And then I'm going to create an endpoint. So we also have the data API if you guys want to use the data API, but I'm kind of, we all have our ticks as developers, and I kind of like this one. So if I create an endpoint, I need to just kind of say, give it the URL. So this down here, we're going to come back to, because this is what I'm going to tell my application. This is going to be the endpoint for my application. So I'm going to say I need my movies. I'm going to make it a get, respond with result. Now this is new since I wrote the document. So it used to say only JSON, but now you have JSON. And if you need to know why you would use one or the other, then I can tell you later. So, and then I'm going to do a new function. It's called the function get movies. And then you can put the function here as well. So I need to, it's in the doc. Auto complete search. Here we go. Okay, great. So this is the code that we need inside the doc. I'm sure it's a snippet too. Let me get this. So I have this nifty window that I can hook up to whatever. So I created a function here called get movies, and then I put this code in it real quickly. So inside this code, just to give you an idea of what we have, we're going to use, it's very simple, we get the movies collection, so we get a handle to our movies database inside our sample influx, movies collection inside our sample influx database. Now in my API, I'm going to have a query parameter that I'm calling search term that I'm going to append to the end of that. And I have a search aggregation. So right now the search aggregation is empty. This is where we're going to paste our code for that, and then finally, so I have my movies collection. This line just says I'm going to run that simple aggregation on the movies collection, and I'm going to bring me back the results. So I need to go back to Compass and get that code here. Go inside aggregation, put it there. And then, like I said, we're not going to look for Harry Potter. We're going to look for search term because we want to look across different things. So search term, if query is not equal to, okay, that should do it. Save draft. Oh, you know, I do that every time. Thank you very much. That would, if you didn't say that, I would. So this here, here's a pro tip that I put on there. Let me actually fix that. We'll go back here. That's fine. So because it's so safe, we always ask you to double check, but it gets kind of annoying if you're just kind of trying to learn. So you can go inside deployment, configuration, and we'll just disable drafts. That way it doesn't keep bugging you every time you change something in there. And then I'll go back to functions. Thank you. So I have an HTTP endpoint and that calls a function. And so I put that function in there, and you could find it here, get movies. And then thank you for catching that for me. So we'll save it. Okay, great. Now I'm going to get that endpoint again. We'll put it inside the browser. And it was search term. What movie y'all want to see? Matrix or Batman or whatever? Yeah, one. Oh, invalid parameter, no authentic. Oh, right. Oh, yeah. This gets me every time too. So that's actually not the one I'm going to use. Let's see, HTTP endpoints, movies, functions. Inside of our functions, so this is another trick we have. It's secure all these different authentication methods. I'm just going to bypass all the authentication methods, so you don't have to. So it's just going to run as system ID. So if I do system ID, save that, and that should be in the document as well. I write it down because I forget every time. So let's see if that works this time. Oh, I don't have. Maybe I'm using the wrong. Let's see. Search term is right. Query. Huh. I don't know. Oh, let me look. One more thing. So it says if my search term is that. If there's no search term, let's go ahead and. If there's no search term or search term equals 0, I'm going to do that. Actually, I don't know why this isn't working. I'm sorry? I misspelled search term here in the, oh yes, thank you. So just again, we do the aggregation. The first stage is $search. That was the basic search query that we built, and we created the endpoint. And it wasn't returning anything because I didn't ask it to. I ran the aggregation on the collection, but I didn't return it. So that's why you don't get what you don't ask for. So the code sandbox is there. So just to kind of get us back to where we were, we have our application that's in Code Sandbox that's hosted. It's a simple React app. And on the back end, we have our Atlas data, and we have our, and then we have the index. So we have our Atlas data, and then we created the search index. And then To talk to it, I use app services, and I use this HTTP service that is calling this function. So I just want to give you an overview of everything that we're doing here. So that was our basic search. So if we take that endpoint, and I think I still have it in the browser, if I put it here, and I go to, let me close snippets. Is it search bar? No, it's not search bar. It is home. There it is. So if I take that endpoint and I put it here, this doesn't seem right. So hopefully fetch movies. Sorry, let me make this bigger. There we go. So I should get, my application is getting that endpoint. So I have that endpoint here. It's getting in from my search box. It's getting my movies. It's getting my search term, and I'm appending that here with my search term, and then I'm going to get the results back. So if I save that, hopefully it'll work. And on, not that one, on my local host, let's see, Harry Potter, we get our Harry Potter movies, and then we get the highlights that we said, and we were searching across title, full plot, and plot, so we can look for any other type of movies you guys might want. I am a big fan of like the old sports movies, like any sports movie actually, but I always kind of wonder how many, like Indiana high school basketball seems very specific, and then you get like Hoosiers. Hoosiers was my favorite one here. So that's how you basically create the endpoint, and then you call it from the front end. I want to go into autocomplete, but I feel like I'm getting a lot of questions about how these indexes work and why they're different. Do you guys mind if we talk about that, go a little bit deeper into that first? Okay. And then we'll go back to autocomplete. That one's going to be easy. Okay, so I build things, so I'm always like, hey, how do you do it? But I don't really care about performance because whatever. But it's actually like the more I talk, I used to be an SA, and whenever I talk to people, it matters. There's a gentleman over here who's talking about how much his index is and how much space it's taking, and that matters. So we created the default index, which is fantastic if you just want to test it. If you just want to get some data, we only have 23,000 documents, whatever. But a lot of people say they have lots of documents. And in the FIFA player set, there's 100 fields. But I only want to check out so many fields. And because of how mapping works, you really want to kind of create your index with a lot of thought. So we're going to talk about indexes, analyzers, and how they affect performance. So how this worked is, if you know MongoDB, or if you don't know MongoDB, everything runs with a MongoDB process. It's a Java process on every node that you have in your deployment. MongoS is valuable if you're sharding. You use MongoS. It's kind of like a traffic cop for your data, for your queries. When we did search, we had to build up a whole new system, MongoT. So MongoT is also an Apache. Is also based on Apache 8 Lucene. It's also a Java process, and it is co-located on the same node as your MongoD and your MongoS if it's necessary. So this is important to know because it's going to take up some of your resources. So make sure when you're creating these things that you bear this in mind, and some people, they'll notice that it takes a little bit more, but remember, you don't have to stand up a different system, you don't have to scale it, you don't have to secure it anymore. All your data stays in the same place. But for us to get this whole new Java process, MongoT, to talk to MongoD, that's where we created the search index. So if you're using MongoDB, the underscore, maybe you don't, the underscore ID field is automatically indexed. And then you can create lots of different indexes, and they help with your performance so much. If you guys are getting, I work in Austin, and we have a lot of technical services engineers, and I get to hear them, like we talk a lot over coffee, and there are cases, so if you're having this, ask somebody to have a look at it, because there are cases where somebody creates the wrong index, and they can get an M30 that's really pushing the CPU, but then they create the right index, and you could get an M10 that's just humming along great. So I really don't want people to, the first instinct when you see an M30 being pushed like that is to scale up. Don't, trying to resist the urge and just kind of do that. But so indexes are really powerful, but there are different indexes than that. So to give you an idea of what a MongoD index, a typical MongoD index is a binary, is a binary index. That's not right. What is it called again? Sorry, I'm like drawing a blank. Binary tree index, is that right? Is that right? Okay, B-tree index, thank you. It's a B-tree index, but I think they're different, right? A B-tree index, but a MongoT index is an inverted index. So we looked at the standard, so the default index is standard, but we can create lots of different indexes. So this is an example of if we're using the Lucene index. If we take the text, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Different indexes are gonna cut this up in different ways. So the whole process of taking these terms of this whole sentence and breaking it down into different terms to match, and which ones you throw away and which ones you keep to look to see if it matched, that's called an analysis. And so that's why it's important to, when you create your index, pick the right analyzer. So this Lucene English, that's the analyzer we're using here. And what it's going to do, it's going to remove all the sort of common words. It's going to lowercase everything. It's going to remove punctuation. And out of this whole thing, you're only going to have best, worst times. So you can see, so those are going to be your tokens. Those are going to be the things that you have. So as you can see here with that inverted index, if we have these tokens, best, worst times, they're going, on your MongoT side, they're going to point to different documents inside of your MongoD. So best, for instance, is going to be here and two, party with the best of them. I just made up these sentences. Best and worst NFL teams on record. And then, times, that's only going to be in one sentence. But sometimes, like let's say you're looking for the word it, and you don't get any matches. Well, it's because you're using the wrong index. You might want to use the standard index if you're looking for a common word or something like that. And then a really nice index is, actually, I don't know if I talk about this. So you always think about indexes as, if I have Othello or something in front of me and I want to find whatever famous phrase in the book, I'm not going to read the whole book. So that would be like the way you used to do it, you kind of had to read the whole book. But now you can go in the index, you can find what page it's on, you could go directly to that page. So that's kind of analogous to what we're doing here. So I'm going to show you a simple application, but we have lots of different analyzers here. And so one app that I'm working on that I promise I keep promising them I'm going to launch it is, I have a few apps actually, but they're all here if you, they're at the bottom of the Atlas Search Indexes, I think it's called. Okay, so this kind of, I wanted to put this out there to help everybody understand what they have. It's hard to read right now, but if you go to atlassearchindexes.com, you have it, and you could use it. And I don't have anything in here in the other tabs yet, but I will. So the idea is, sometimes when you're looking for things and you don't find it, it's not a question of how high it was in your score. And you could do all sorts of things to modify the score, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But if you don't use the right analyzer, you're not going to find it. So I always think about analyzing as kind of like if I'm cooking in the kitchen and I need things to fit in a certain way. So if we look at, we'll look at different text. So I'm going to look at this one. As I was walking to work, so this is the sentence we're looking at. As I was walking to work, just a normal sentence. And then I can see if I'm using the standard analyzer, it's going to lowercase everything. I put these as my golden rules. It's going to lowercase everything, remove punctuation, keep accents. And so that's going to leave these as the tokens. So you can see I have lots of tokens. And that's going to like map differently. And it really depends on my data on how much that's going to take. But if I use English, I have less tokens. Simple has lots of tokens. And so if you went here and you wanted to understand the differences in the analyzers, this would be a place where you could just go and like hit around on. White space, and so these are just kind of the general rules. Keyword is interesting because it keeps everything intact. So if you have something like where you know what the input field is because it's like a switch or something from the front end, you probably want to do keyword. That way you get like less tokens and it maps quite quickly. And then of course you could do French. So if we were to do emails, we had lots of emails. So if I'm using this email address, which is not an actual email address, and I were to use, knowing the rules that I found here, if I were to look for, let's say I wanted to look for MongoDB, then I can pick my different analyzer here and it's going to tell me if it matches. So, so there's no matches with standard. Oops. But it does match, but here's the result. It does match when you're using simple. So you can pick different things. If you had keyword, it definitely wouldn't match. So think about these things when you're creating your index and you're thinking about performance. Now that you know the different type of analyzers we have and how they affect whether or not something's going to match, because that's what you're looking for, then I always try and, when you're strategizing how to do these things, we're going to start with our data and think about your data and think about the queries that you're going to be running against your data. Are you looking for emails? Are these text characters? Are these numbers? Are you going to be querying them from a checkbox grid inside the interface? So think about your data and how you're querying them. And that's going to help you decide which indexes you're going to use. So you might want to use a tool, and I think Lucina has some cool tools that'll help you figure out what the tokens will be from that. Knowing the tokens that you want to index is going to help you pick the analyzer. Standard, Lucene, keyword, French, Chinese, we have dozens of analyzers. So you get your data, you pick your analyzer, and then when we created that index, you saw that we can refine our index and we could pick a different analyzer if we wanted to, and we don't have to use a standard one. So data, analyzers, indexes, and then that index that you have is the first line inside of your query. So here inside the search stage, if I use a different index, it would go here. I would say index. Like for instance, if I did index default and comma. And so that's what's happening. Now, if I do another index, if I have another index and it uses a different analyzer, it might not work. But you can create lots of different indexes and use them on specific calls. We do different indexes for facets, for instance. So you can figure out how to do things on that. So because it reads the data differently. Any questions about that? Did that help? Yes, sir.
If you have data from different languages, Japanese, English, Spanish, so not just one language.
Mm-hmm. So when you pick different, so for instance, I mentioned standard analyzer removes, the English analyzer, for instance, it removes the common stop words, the, at, it, was, things like that. Obviously, those are different in Spanish or French. So it's going to understand that. And the other thing that's really interesting about the language analyzers is, let me see if I find this, is stemming. And this was actually a really good point that I probably should have made. If we do something like, let's go back to that one long sentence. And I do have something in French if you want. Are you Spanish? Oh, if you have multiple languages. Yeah, you can, so you can combine different analyzers in the same index using multi. So there is let me see if I should have an example of like a multi-analyzer, but it just goes inside the index definition. You say your first index, and then you say your different index. But I've always kind of struggled trying to figure out like a good, like in this app, I worked with that one a lot, trying to figure out a really good use case for it. But the other thing I want to point about matching, about finding the tokens that you want, is if we're using, as I was walking to work. So this is English, and we say things differently. We end, things with S and ing, and they're plurals. The English analyzer, just like the French analyzer, Spanish analyzer, it understands stemming. So if I were to look for, in this sentence, if I were to look for walks instead of walking, sorry, terrible speller today. If I look for walks instead of walking with the simple index, I don't have any matches. But if I use English, I will have matches. It matches on the word walking. Also, if I do podcast or whatever, or drop or dropping. Like if I do dropping instead of drop, that's going to match because different analyzers will tokenize things differently. Yes, sir? I'm sorry?
The method of it's supposed to be used during your indexing period, not during the query period. You are doing the query. Well, this is just example.
Well, it creates some tokens and it does the mapping when you create the indexes. It goes across your collection then. So it creates the tokens, it does the mapping, and then at query time.
I see.
Yeah.
I thought it was doing the indexing. When you're indexing it, right, you are not going to index any of those tokens, like all, S.
I'm sorry?
I think the question is, do you have one index for all these languages, or you have multiple indexes?
Do I have one index for all these languages? I only have, I'm sorry, so I have, the languages are in the analyzer, right? You could have one index and multiple analyzers. Was that the question? Oh, sorry, were you going to translate the question for me? Oh, yeah, you do have to do it ahead of time, but you have to think about your use case, right? Like, and you could have different indexes already set up, like so.
But you are doing that during your query.
I'm just trying to show why things match and why they don't match. I can't.
This is just a tool to demonstrate.
Yeah, this is yeah. Thank you. I was trying to make a point, and I guess I did it badly. I thought this was so anyway, cool. So knowing that we have to sort of think about different indexes and how important indexes are, let's do autocomplete real quickly because that comes up a lot. And it's very easy to do, and I just want people to kind of get an idea of what it is. So if we get, so we're going to go back to our data. I have so many projects, I just want to make sure I'm in the right project. So inside your Atlas cluster, let's go back to our movies collection. Okay, open a new tab. Browse collections. We are in the MFlix one. So now I'm going to show you how we can kind of refine our index a little bit better. And then I want to show you an app where I have lots of different indexes, and you guys can use it as you start building things out. Again, I'm in the movies collection. Again, I'm going to create a search index. Now this time, remember, I'm thinking about my data and I'm thinking about how I want to query it. I know that in this particular use case, in my movie search engine, I want my titles to show up. I want to sort of have, as I start typing, I want my audience to try to figure out what they want to use. So I'm going to create a new index. I've reached the maximum. How many indexes do I have? Okay, that's not possible. I do have, like, hold on. Oh, I already have one. Okay. Oh, because of my soccer application. Okay, so let me go back to here. Collections. I probably have it on sample restaurants. Let me see what my search. Okay, so soccer players is fine, sample MFlix is fine. I don't know why this is. It's weird. Because I'm on an M0. So you should be allowed 5 indexes. This is really the worst workshop I've ever done. I'm not saying that because I'm messing up. I actually never liked it. But you should have 5 indexes per cluster. So I'm just going to go use a different cluster real quick. So let's try a different one. I have that data set everywhere. So let's go to actually, let me go back to where it was. Maybe I already had that. While I'm doing this, does anybody have any other questions about the performance and the MongoT? Was that and how they work together?
For one of the breakout sessions, I don't remember who it was, but they mentioned that it can take up like 40% of the resources of the cluster. That way?
Yes.
That's huge.
Well, it depends. Like how often are you using it? How often are you using queries? Have you indexed on every field? This is kind of one of the things I'm trying to say. If you just do the default index, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel it eventually. Like it depends. If you're doing, movie apps, then you probably won't feel it and you won't notice. I don't. I think the point that he might have been making was it's really important to be really thoughtful about whatever you're doing, to only use the right index at the right time. And the other thing is, actually that brings up another good point that we were talking about earlier. I just kind of want to show this slide just to sort of finish up on that note that I probably should have finished up on earlier. Your client gets so this is another performance thing that we need to talk. So your indexes take up space, but there are all sorts of things you could do for performance as well. But this is how the MongoT and the MongoD actually work together. Now that I've explained both and I've explained indexes, your client's going to get a call, and in the first call, it's going to recognize in the aggregation, it's going to recognize the search stages first. This is why the search stage always comes first. It's going to get that search stage and it's going to kick it over to the MongoT. And so the MongoT is going to do the search it needs to. And remember, it's only going to return the metadata that you ask for, and it's going to return the underscore ID. So it's going to do whatever search call it is. So the nice thing is like if you're doing matches later in your aggregation, because it's search, you can combine it with lots of different operators. But you might not want to do different stages. Maybe if you could push a lot of stuff into search, you might notice a better performance altogether on that. But we do have explain plans, which I highly recommend as well. So you could see, you could try different ways and see which one's performing well. So you're going to do the query, you're going to do the search stage, you're going to do the query, you're going to push as much stuff as you can to search, and then it's going to find names and values. It's going to find the underscore ID and the metadata, and it's going to send that back to MongoD. Now it has that underscore ID, and that field is always indexed. We always have an underscore ID. It's always indexed automatically. It's going to do a lookup and that underscore ID. It's going to get the rest of the document, and then it's going to finish the aggregation. So this is why it's important that when you send things back, you do your $search stage. If you limit it to 12, then it's going to get 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to get 12, and then it's going to stop. So you don't want to do another stage before you want to try and get as few documents as possible, pull it in your working set, and they'll help a lot. Imagine pulling all 20,000 or 100,000 or a million documents into your working set. So, and then it finishes, MongoD finishes what it does, and it sends it back to the client. So that's how that works. Yes, sir?
Where do you store the index, the text index?
The text index is stored on the MongoT. Well, that's why he was saying that you feel it.
In the database. The index is not in the database. You store index as plain text or whatever on the server. Right?
I don't know. I'm sorry. Can I come back to you on that? Can we? I'll find it. I'll find somebody. I'm really tired and I can't really think. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So we did our first call. We can do, I want to show you this application real quick before, because I want to make sure you guys get, we're talking about performance and stuff, and now I want to just sort of build out some more queries, and then maybe we'll go to autocomplete after that. But so this is an application you could go to. I mentioned Atlas Search Movies you can go to, and you could see how like the queries are built out. There's Atlas Search Indexes. It's going to give you an idea of how different indexes tokenize your data. And this one is called Atlas Search Restaurants. So in this application, what I wanted to point out is if we're looking, so this is a restaurant data inside New York City. And this, so we're down here right now, and this red dot is the MongoDB office on 50th and Broadway. So here I can look for different things. I can look for different restaurants. Does anyone have a restaurant that there's like Azalea, I think, near where the office. So you can see that I have, so this is a resource for you. You can see that I have autocomplete shows here, and if you click open, that's going to show you the code for autocomplete. So this is something that we could build now if you want. Let's go ahead and do Azalea. And so that's going to see things. And then you could see here that we have different scores. So this is going to show all the different scores. And I can do different types of searches too. I can look for, I believe, sir, you were mentioning synonyms. I don't know if that was what you're talking about with the cats and the humans. So this is something where you could do, so you could also see I showed you the code for autocomplete. So here's the code for this. This is using, again, the $search stage. So this is actually the code being built out here on the right. The $search stage, whatever your index name is, and then I can do synonyms here. And so this is the call for synonyms. I have to create a different collection. So we could talk about that in a little bit, and then I'm going to highlight it. So let's say I'm looking for noodles within, and so let's say within less than a half a mile of work, and it has to be at least 3 stars. And so you can see also in this how every time I have a condition, it creates another search building block, and how I want to sort of, and then we had different, so we're using geo within now, we have geo near, we have all sorts of different operators that you could use, but these are the ones that I choose. Range is 3 or more stars, and so you could see how these kind of all contribute to our search stage. So we take each of these building blocks and bring them over, and then we can find. And so now you can see that I have all sorts of restaurants. I have Italian and Japanese. And then here we have all the different, how they're faceted down accordingly. So you could sort of see if I'm looking for noodles close to work, I'm going to get a lot of American. By the way, I think I made the menu items up. I didn't have a data set for that, so I made the menu items up. But the other thing is, you can see that some of the noodles, let me see if why this isn't working. So highlighting it should be working. I think there's a bug on it somehow, but the noodles I have, actually let's look at the synonyms. So the synonyms I have here are, inside this collection, I have dumplings. If I'm looking for chips, oh, I didn't know I had chips and fries. I don't know. So let's say I'm looking for like burgers. So I can map things equivalently, or I can map things explicitly. So equivalently is, they mean exactly the same thing. If I'm looking for pie, I'm going to get tart. If I'm looking for tart, I'm going to get pie. And explicitly means, if I'm looking for noodles, I'll get lo mein, and I'll get spaghetti. But if I'm looking for lo mein, I'm not going to get spaghetti. So you can sort of figure out, there's a lot of power that you have in all your analyzers here. So if I go back to where I was, so this was my search stage. I'm going to just press some buttons just so you guys know that this resource is out there for you. My aggregation pipeline, pressing aggregation, will show me the aggregation that brought all these results that I have. So you can use that there. The other thing is, I can add more filters if I want. I want American and Chinese for fine. It's fine. So different restaurants. But you see that we have the faceting here. I can say Manhattan or close to work or whatever. If I want the code, for facets, so this is the code that we did for facets. The operator is a different operator. Instead of being search, we're using search meta. We also use a different index. I'll show you the indexes in a second. So the index I'm using here is facet index instead of the default one. And then you can see that I do some things, and I call the same basic aggregation that I have on my search stage, but then I'm working with facets, and that's going to put everything inside buckets, and then my front end is going to know what to do with those buckets. So now that we're looking at this, if I go to data and indexes, this is, if you guys wanted to build this out on your own, there is a video that I put in the resources at the bottom of atlassearchworkshop.com. So, but this is what the indexes I have. If I didn't want to just create the default index, I could, I was very specific in my default index. I only indexed the fields that I need, and it came out quite long. Facet index definition that I use here, that's a different call, or I can combine them together with GraphQL. One of our Atlas app services is GraphQL if you wanted to combine two different calls together with a custom resolver. And then my autocomplete index is something. And there are all these tunables in here that you have, and that's going to allow you to sort of create the results that you want for your users. There's one last thing, if I go here inside this app, is, so you see here that I have like the score, and so the highest scores come first. 15 is in there. It goes 14, and then it goes down. And the more specific I get, the different the results will be. If I wanted to, I could look for. Let me get out of American and Chinese, and I want to go within a mile of work. Let's go within a half mile work. See what that is. Oh, that's fine. So I can see how everything breaks down there. But my score, you see that I have like different star ratings for different things. So I might actually want to, I might actually want to go to Blue Willow or Yummy Sushi because they're higher rated. By the way, I made up the ratings too, so don't use this to pick restaurants. I felt really bad. I think I gave everybody like a 3 or a 4 or 5. So I just didn't want them anyway. But so if you want, so now you have the results. And remember, we're getting the highest scores first. But there are lots of ways that you could influence the score of your document, of the score of your documents, so that you get your results in different orders. So if in this particular case, I want the number of stars to affect, like I want my users to get the most highly rated restaurants first. We have a couple of different score modifiers. We have boost, we have constant. So boost is like, I'm looking for Godfather movies. But in my call, remember I did title, plot, and full plot. If I were to do that as it is, I'll get all sorts of crazy movies, and they might not be Godfather movies, even though I'm looking for Godfather. So if I want to sort of modify that so I make sure I get my Godfather movies first, if I think the title field is more important, then I can say, I can break that up. So you see here how we're using this compound operator to combine all these different filters. And my boost, I can break that up, put both those stages in compound, and then I can say boost the score. If it's in the title, boost it by 30 or whatever you want to do. But in this particular case, we can also apply mathematical formulas on the fields inside of our data. So I want to take the score and I want to multiply it by the number of stars that the restaurant has. So if I want to do that, so now I get all my, I hit function score here at the top. And so you could see that I added this is the next little search building blocks. I added inside that same search stage to get that, and in it I'm just multiplying the number of stars by the relevant score. And if it doesn't match, it's going to be 1. If it's undefined, it's going to be 1. But the other thing that's really nice here is that you could see that if I say, if it's a sponsored search, like like if you have people or a promotion or something this week, you could also multiply it. If that exists there, you can multiply that, so you get those results at first as well. So that's something that's really nice that we do for that as well. So anyway, aggregation of data and indexes. So this is so this is everything you need here. And I actually use this a lot when I'm trying to build out. I actually used this last night because I like couldn't remember where the comma goes or where to close or whatever. And so I did that. I use this a lot, and that's what it's here for. So, so let's go back to creating. Let's go back to. We'll do the quick movie index if I can. Developer relations, Atlas Search webinar. So, search indexes. Okay, well, I don't have a, let's see, so I have a few different indexes here for this. I'm just gonna do one more where I do show you how to refine this index inside this interface. So I'm still gonna use the visual editor. By the way, if you do create index, I could do JSON. So like, you know, I gave you those bodies for those different indexes. You want to just cut and paste, and you could create those here. The other thing that was kind of cool was it allows you to sort of customize your analyzer. So let's just do autocomplete real quick, and I can talk about that later. We were talking about analyzers, and you don't have to use the ones that we have. You could do another one. So sample influx database. So I am creating this one. I'm going to turn off dynamic mapping because I don't want to constantly listen for it. Let's refine the index. I can change it to, I can keep it standard Lucene, or I can change it to English or whatever. I'll just keep it the way it is. Everything's going wrong for me today, so I'm going to just stick that way. And again, for autocomplete, I don't want to just click buttons. I want to be very specific about what I want to do. So I only want to autocomplete on the title field. And so I had mentioned that if you just do default index, you do mapping everything, but it maps all these fields, but the other ones have to be specified. Autocomplete is one of those things. So if we could do string, autocomplete, string facet. So these are the types of data that you can specify. And we'll do autocompletes here, save changes. Okay, so that should take a little bit. Usually it kind of says it started and it launched it. I don't know why it's not awesome now, but it's probably working. So if I go here and I go to, let me, I'm a little afraid of, if I get my sample influx, let me connect to Compass here. I don't know if my password's in there is what I'm concerned about. Damani, can you turn off the thing for a second so I can connect to Compass for just a second? Thanks. It's not that I don't trust you. It's just that I can't change my password because I can't remember it if I change it. So, okay, so now thank you. So now if I go to here, where are my collections, movies, aggregations. Yeah, could you bring it back up? I'm sorry, thank you. Damani, can you turn it back up, please? Thank you. Thank you, sorry. So now I'm in the thing, and now I can do search. I'll do search. We'll do, now because I'm not using the default index, I've given my index a name. I'll have to specify here. Autocomplete. And then we look for, what's that movie, Eternal Spotless Mind? What is that one? Eternal, so I'll just do eternal. So let's look in the title field. Oh, what was it complaining about? Am I even in the right? Huh? It should be, but I'm just on so many different. developer. Da, 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 da.
You have two index of this collection, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you refer it? You said it's a long index, or you said it's a text index, or you said it's a search index. What index is this? Let's just say that. What type of index is this? How do you
It's a search index.
a search index? Okay.
Okay. And it's a search index because I use it inside of my search stage. So, and I went, so the developer relations, Atlas is running around basis. So I should have, let me see what I have here, restaurants, products. Okay, so I have sample Netflix movies. That should be, so it's active, it should be working. Let me make sure I'm in the right collection. Connect, overview.
What you can do if you can just click on query actually, and just on the interface if you want to. Anyway.
Yeah. Do you want to do that? I mean, it's in English. I never do that. I go hardcore every time. Index. What was it? It's query. Well, actually, let's see if my aggregation is stored. Aggregation. I should have a folder here. Yeah. So this is this is why I like to save all my things in here. So in this one, I'm going to do index. Oh, right. I'm sorry. I know why it was. So I did index autocomplete. So index autocomplete. So it's not just the index on this one. On this one, it's a different operator. Actually, that was a good point because that was the whole point of the soccer one. So the operator in this one is going to be. Let's see. Let's do path. Title, I'm only indexing title here. So I can do fuzzy matching just for the title here as well. And then if I can do no. So it's going to show different things. So it doesn't have to be, so I'm just going to do title to get everything back. So you can see how I have different fields here. There it is. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, I think I saw. So different fields here, and as I type, it's going to start changing that. And so this is the call that you make. So inside of my applications, inside the movie application, I actually create an endpoint just like we did with this aggregation, and then I have it inside my search bar components that after I type in like 3 characters or something like that, I start hitting this endpoint and then populating inside the field underneath that. Does anybody have any questions about this? Does anyone want to try and do this one up here for me? You want to give it a go? How are we doing on time? Do you guys want to do something else? Oh my God, how are we doing on time? Oh, let's take a break. You want to take a break? Okay.
Raffles at 2.
Raffles at 2?
I think so. Maybe I'm wrong. We had a raffle.
There's a raffle? I've missed everything. I didn't go to the party. Did you guys go to the party? I didn't go to the party. So there is a do you have to be there for the raffle?
Yeah.
What do you win? What do you win? Headphones, mats. Okay, so so if you go to, let's see, 11:15, wow, we've already made it like 2.5 hours. Well, we're definitely taking a break. But I'm just wondering, I did this, I spent like all this time writing the soccer app, and I wrote exercises for you guys to do based on those little things to do. So I'm not going to make you do that unless anybody wants to try. Does anyone want to try to create an index or do faceting or something like that?
Yeah, I'll try.
You want to try? You want to try up here?
Sure.
Cool. Do you guys want to take a break first?
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a break first. Get your game on. Does anyone want to see facets? David's going to implement facets in the soccer application.
I'm gonna try.
We'll have to do it together. It'll be a group project. So I have, if you want to, I have it here on movie search results or whatever. And then there's but I had problems putting Tailwind in a code sandbox, an embedded code sandbox. I don't know how to do that. So I have the repo here underneath. So I advise just downloading it from the repo because that has Tailwind the normal way. Do you use Tailwind at all? Like, I've used it so much that I can't even think about going back. So, like, you get addicted. So, let's see. Am I running this application? Like, that's not the one. Actually, so if I were to build facets now, I would use this as reference, just because it's helpful. So, so first, I'm going to close this. Where's my local host? No, that's not what should be running. Why are you up? How do I kill my process? Without, I don't have it. I should. It's not anywhere. You can do the activity monitor.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Just 'cause it was.
Okay. Thank you. So, it's just one of those days. So, how long are you in New York for? Just listen to me make small talk while I get.
How long am I in New York?
He's from Sydney.
Another week.
Well, good. I'm glad you're not heading back right away.
Yeah.
Oh, dang it, that's why, because I opened the wrong app. Sorry. I'm really sorry. So, I'm not used to working on one monitor, so I'm like, no, I gotta do it the long way. Let's see. Open recent, and I'm doing this one. Okay. Have you touched, has anybody experimented with facets at all?
What's the use case for facets?
It's like filters, like on the left-hand side of like.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's, for instance, if you're looking for, in the restaurant application, if you're looking for noodles within a half-mile walk, there's like 40 American restaurants. And so you could kind of get an idea of how your data is spread across into different buckets. So the word, like when in our documentation, we often refer to facets and buckets and things like that.
So it's the same as or similar to the aggregation facet command where you take one set of data and break it into different buckets?
No. Yes, but no. So actually, that was something that really confused me before. So the aggregation facet is mostly for parallel processing, parallel doing things in parallel. This facet is more like an advanced sort of filtered search. So we're not doing anything, we're just kind of understanding. We get the data back and we understand how they're subclassified, but there's not actually. And that, I gotta say, when I first started working on faceting, I spent a lot of time looking at that stupid facet stage, and I was like, what the heck? So what would I do? So in here, what we want to do is, so what I imagine we want to do is we want to facet for
country.
We could do positions, like it's because they're smaller.
Yeah.
So we could do, I guess what I would do is I would say, if I want to see how many Argentinians are playing, and I can change the age or whatever, but honestly, I'm not sure if I set up the thing for age yet. I did set up the thing for overall, though. How many Argentinians are better than a score of like 80? Well, let's just do. So these are my results. So these are all Argentinians over 80, but it'd be cool if we did that, and then we could kind of figure out how many really good Argentinians are goalkeepers. I bet none of them. Wait, actually, now I'm curious. I'm sorry. So what would be the first thing what would be the first thing we should do if we're going to do facets?
Yeah, so when you select Argentina, it should have the counts of each position, right? Yeah, so we put like a count next to all the positions.
But so even before we put it in the front end, we'd probably want it in the back end, right?
Yeah.
So we should probably do an index.
Yeah.
Okay. So I actually would have to look up how to do an index, or I would just go here and see how I did the index here. So my index definition for facets is this. And then I can see, so if I would take this, okay, so so that gives me an idea. I want to do, okay, so
the type is string facet.
So this type is string facet, but I'm also, so this is the interesting thing here.
Yeah.
I can say, so we'll go into Atlas and we'll look at the documents in a second, but I can say, instead of borough, I'm looking for position, and I'm also querying for position, like in this thing, like it's part of my text query, whatever in the position field. So I need to query it for string.
Yeah.
But I'm also need to do type string facet. And so that's why when I combine those different types together, I just do it within an array.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to, I know I need to give this to you. I will, I promise. So let's imagine, and I don't know if we have search meta in here as well. This was the cluster that This was the cluster that I can't, well, I'll just kill some indexes on here. Let's see. I'm drawing a blanket, thank you. Here, I'll let you do it. Why don't we kill do you mind going into, because this is an M0, and I keep putting applications on here, I keep creating search indexes, and I don't need, so if you could go to, let's go to, just kill that one, and maybe we can create another.
We have to wait for it to finish, I guess.
I guess, maybe that's why I didn't do it before, but. So while we do this, I had a really cool conversation with somebody who left about custom analyze. Oh, now it's done, never mind. I'll save it for later now, that's done.
Right. So visual.
So we gotta give it a different name, I guess. Oh, are we in the?
Does this have the soccer data?
No. It should. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes,
Sorry.
So.
Player is 22, yes.
Yeah.
And then we got to give it a different index name.
Oh, the name.
Yeah.
Let's call it soccer facet.
So I think, do you want to do it with the JSON or do you want to do it with the? I don't think
we can do it.
I don't think you can do it either. You can do a faceted index inside here, Charles? Est-ce que tu peux venir ici?
There you go, string facet.
Mais il faut you have to combine two of them, right?
No.
You can add one?
Yeah.
Look at this. I'm gonna sit. Can I? Like here, you help him and I'll sit. So.
What's the field name called for the position?
Oh, yeah. I think I have a field name called.
This one?
I have player positions, but I also have one called, so player positions was a string of different things, and I actually broke that down with my nifty aggregation into an array of individual things, I think, so.
I'll just look at it, yeah.
Let's see. Dang it, now I gotta go back to that one. Hold on. This is hard. Work is hard. Close. those.
We'll just do it inside of Atlas.
Well, we can, but I'm on the wrong cluster. So this cluster doesn't have the data. So let me go back to SA.
I was just going to use that tab.
Oh, but I need to get to my SA. I can't scroll. What's wrong with me? I don't know.
We'll just do this.
Good idea. Here. Do you want to wear the mic? Okay.
There we go.
Where did my coffee go? Here.
So club position is the correct one, I believe. 'cause that-
No, can you scroll all the, so go to show 84 more fields, keep scrolling. I think I called it player positions array.
Are there multiple positions, is there?
Yeah, because in positions, if I remember, yeah, that's it, player position array.
Yeah.
Because some players, the original data came as if they played goalkeeper and striker, or whatever, as if they would, it would be one string that says goalkeeper, comma, striker, and that was, I didn't like that because it made it difficult to facet. So
We'll do string facet and string.
I changed it, I cleaned the data. So I just ran an aggregation.
Then you do.
And-
Figure that one.
You have like an array of boilerplate
Mhm.
keywords. Could you say, would you use a keyword?
Oh, yeah. So
You wanted a combined one, right?
if I know what my fields are exactly, like because it's a either checkbox or a drop-down
I
menu,
think
then
so,
I would
but
do
I think she
keyword
wanted to be able
analysis.
to type it in the search box as well, right?
No, you have to add the because we're also searching to see. So the facet index, the facet type says that we're going to start counting them and putting them into buckets, and the string type says we can query across that string to see if it exists. So it's going to tell me if I do goalkeeper, I have to have them as a string. But if I want to see how many goalkeepers I have to have it as a string facet. But I don't know if you can combine them. Oh, can you? Okay. Well, I gotta go. Hold on, I'm gonna go sit. see what's up.
Let's create it.
Yeah, and the way you combine that is inside of an array. So I think when I did it before, we didn't have it through the visual editor, so I had to hack around. Search meta.
Search meta.
Mm-hmm.
Facet.
And then what do we call?
The index name.
Circle facets. Operator. That was club positions.
Player position array, I think.
Yeah. Oops. Player positions.
You could also look if you go up a level in this aggregation, the original documents are there.
Yeah, you could
So,
preview.
yeah, you could see it there.
You should be able to get here.
Oops.
There you go. Yeah, player positions array.
I think I typed it right. Player positions array. Yeah, that's good. String facet types, num buckets. Is that the same thing?
Yeah.
Number facet.
Do we need, what's,
Yeah, I don't think you need
Operator.
so you need to query for, instead of querying for string, let's query for like a GK, capital GK. I think it has to be capital.
Operator text query.
Do we even need the string facet there?
No,
Oh, no,
error.
because,
Look at the copy
So when I do this, it just does the, you know what you could do?
Yeah.
What's the difference between facet and facets? I would,
This is facet. Yeah. At the top level, it's facet. And then
oh, so it's nested,
Facets.
okay.
phase, cartoon,
Do you,
operator.
so the type, path, number buckets, type, string, that looks right.
Operator text query path. Does this need a type?
You could maybe look in the Atlas Search Restaurants one and just do a quick search and check the facet thing, because I'm lazy that way. Or we can check the documentation.
Yeah, is this valid JSON?
Oh, yeah,
That has to be a string, right?
yes.
Put the pattern quotes.
Yeah, it's in the
What?
Player positions array should be in quotes.
You actually content line before, so
What? No?
Okay.
does that work with an array?
All right. You could do the different field,
Do you
but
have to do that?
I was thinking so, but maybe not. I don't know. Now I'm confused.
Yeah, and the same for string as well.
No, because it's a variable, so you don't need. It's a variable, so you don't need that. I'm sorry. I don't think you. No, I don't think you put those in quotes.
I'm just trying things, to be honest.
Oh, why don't we just look in the restaurant app and see what the first stage looks like, or we could look at the documentation.
So the restaurant app?
Atlas Search Restaurant, yeah. So if you go to the front page, so click on Home, yeah, and so go to the bottom, scroll to the bottom, and there, hit that facet button and see what it looks like.
The operator.
It's been a long time since I've done this, so
Yeah,
actually, you know what? Oh, there's facets.
but they do have quotes, so
Yeah.
that's probably what's going on.
But that operator thing was interesting. Oh, I guess it.
Hey, we got
Oh my
something.
God! Will you save that for me there?
What is this? GK. We've got 2,000 goalkeepers. Not sure what this bit is, but yeah.
That's awesome. And so now you could look for anything and get, okay.
Yeah. What's another one, like right wing or something? Why is that? Because it's like fuzzy match? Oh, yeah. It's good. It returns like the count of all of them.
Yeah, it should return a count for all of them. And I think I guess you named them buckets. So, and wait, how many did I have? I had like 15 different positions, I think. Well, that doesn't seem right. No, it should be, oh, actually, is it? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's working, isn't it?
Okay, we'll save it before we break it.
I don't know. How do you save it in this one?
Oh, you can't save it from Atlas. That's fine.
Yeah.
Well,
I can copy this for you.
I'll paste it. I'll put it in the new documentation. Thank you.
Yeah.
Here, I'll get it.
Copied it.
Yeah, you just throw it in there anywhere. I'll fix it.
Check it down the bottom of this.
Thank you.
It's like position. That's it.
I'll remember. I'll get it off.
Yeah. How do you do a code block in?
So, so what else would be a good thing to program?
Can you do a code block in?
Do you guys want?
Code block?
Yeah. Thank you. Perfect. Oh, you took it off.
Yeah, I was Yeah, I was trying to do like a code block. I don't know how to do a code block.
Oh, it's okay. Just put it on, figure it out.
All right, I'll just check it like that.
I'll figure it out, but I'll look at it later and I'll be like, what the, and then I'll delete it and then I'm like, dang it, that's what I need. And I can't command Z back. Joel here actually came from Auth0, so if you have security questions, you could ask him too. I'm sorry, but it's the hardest thing. Like, I hate talking about security, but he just did a blog on search.
I did.
What was the interesting part of what's new and interesting in search? What did you talk about in it?
Nothing that you probably hadn't covered today.
Is there anything coming up that you're looking forward to doing? I'm sorry, so I've been wanting to talk about, thank you. I've been wanting to write a blog. I did that. I showed them my indexes website, and I've helped a couple people. But I've been wanting to talk about the custom analyzers. So I mentioned all the specific analyzers we have. And I know everybody here has kind of a different use case, but I did want to talk about, I don't actually want to create the index unless you want to create the index. But you can do custom analyzers. And so we did English, French, whatever, standard, auto, we have all sorts of different analyzers. And the different analyzers affect how your data is broken up into tokens through the process of analysis. But the thing that I think is really interesting, and it took me a while to wrap my head around, was the idea of custom analyzers. So you can use the analyzers, and pick the different analyzers that you want in order to get like the mongodb.com or whatever in the email and see how that, if your tokens would match your search, how you would search. But you could also do a custom analyzer. And so a custom analyzer is, it gives you a lot of power. And I think it's really interesting if you're working like with chemicals or logs or certain types of formulas where you have different patterns, specific patterns in your data that you want to be able to cut up and find specifically. So when I wrapped my head around it, so I have this idea for a cooking show. Did I ever tell you? Nobody do this because I really want to do this. It's called, it's not really cooking, it's really more eating. But well, in it, I would cook for you ahead of time, and then you'd eat with me, and we'd talk about data, and it would be called Feed Me Data. So nobody do this show. I really want to do my cooking show, but every time I try and learn something, I think about cooking. And I think about like my working set is my kitchen island, and my indexes are my salt and pepper and the things that I need on my island all the time. But when I think about custom analyzers, I always think about, so somebody explained it, they're like you have character filters, and you can have many different, so you have this string of characters and has spaces and S's and ings and things like that. And as you saw, like we can lowercase everything. We can take off the S's, we can take off the roots of everything or whatever, and different analyzers will affect how we tokenize things. But in a custom analyzer, you can say exactly what you want to do. So your character filters is an array that could be empty. You could do nothing to every character. You could keep it exactly the way it is. Or you could remove all the accents on it. Or you could lowercase everything. So every little character in there, it goes through a character filter. Or what's it called, a character, whatever. Anyway, so, and then you do a tokenizer. And you only have one tokenizer. Like, I'm like, okay, you have 0 or many, and then you have one tokenizer, and now you have these tokens, and then you have like your token filter. So you gotta figure out your token filter. And then that's gonna spit out whatever it is you need. So I always think about like, I have this idea of a carrot. So if you wanna lift your cooking, and you're like, I could either just have the carrot, or I can peel it, or I can wash it, or I can take off the leaves, or whatever. Those are my character filters. And then when I cut it, I only cut it one way. I cut it this way, or I cut it julienne, or I don't cut it. Well, no, I guess if I don't cut it, that's like a keyword analyzer, I guess. And then once I have my carrot prepared, and I've tokenized it in my little circles, then I can also do things with those circles. I can boil it, or I can bake it, or I don't have to do anything to it. I could just eat it the way it is. And so, and those pieces of carrots that you actually eat, like you in this analogy is leucine, I guess. And so, I don't know, is it working? So doing the analogy is Lucine, and like is Lucine hungry for this particular thing? Is it gonna settle the stomach on that? So if anybody has like any sort of interesting use cases or something like that, I think that would be kind of cool. But again, there are so many different tricks between, if you, after going through these things, you know, I wanted to really emphasize that like search is, it's like, well, I guess it's like cooking, you know, like it's you don't just everybody go in and do exactly the same thing. There are things that you could do to make your dinner taste better than Joel's dinner and make your dinner take less time than Joel's dinner. Joel, I'm sure you're an amazing cook, but you know, there are things that you could do to make it custom for you. You can make it your results. You could do different things with your score modifiers. You could do different things with your analyzers to get different tokens. You could do different things with synonyms. You could have your synonyms mapped differently. And there's just so much power that you have over your search term that it really works out that way. It really works out. So you as the developer, you're not just writing code, you're kind of an artist with this. I feel pretty good. This workshop's going to end in a little bit. Does anybody want to see or do or try anything? So I'll just finish up with the slides then. I hope you do try the apps that I wrote for you to try and different endpoints. And again, you don't have to program it the way the way we did, but I want you to take away that we covered a lot of these different things today. We talked about score modifiers, function scoring, filters and facets, synonyms, and all the ways you could kind of craft the search results that you want. Hey, Tommy. He's my son. I'm sorry. And he played FIFA a lot. And Tommy, I barely showed up today. Anyway, so there are all these different things that you could do with search, and I want you to kind of walk away knowing that. I hope you get to play with the apps. That's what they're there for. If there's types of content that you like, that you need, that you think would help you, that would be great. If you want to come on Feed Me Data, that would also be great. But let me see, and then I just want to leave you with everything that you have here inside of this application is for you to take home. So you had data sets, and you have the code for it, and you have all the documentation. I'm going to add on to the Score Big document so you can do it. But also at the bottom of here, you can find links to all of our different websites. So this might be a good place to just kind of, if you're interested in experimenting, you can come here and again, sometimes I just go, instead of looking at the documents, I just look at something that surfaces code. Think about the different ways of scoring and just kind of, you look at these things like an artist. So anyway, that's all I have. Thank you guys so much for your patience. I know that was a long day. Thank you. No, thank you guys. Thanks for coming to MongoDB World. Glad you guys are here. Have a safe trip back. Let's have a drink. Who wants to have a drink? So, thanks. That's great.
Can we get the slides somewhere? Or would they be available?
I can put them on that website. I'll put them on the website tonight if that helps. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Charles.
Yeah.